warm welcome to our latest Beyond Radley Talk, our virtual talks programme featuring insights and perspectives from the Radley community. Following on from our interview with George Hanlon, who talked us through how he secured a degree apprenticeship with UBS, today we have a different perspective on apprenticeships, this time from the point of view of a Radley parent. Paula Ward has recently supported her son, who's a current 6-2, with the process of applying for an International Tax degree apprenticeship, and he has now been successful in securing one with Ernst Young. She's going to talk about the application and interview process for the top 4 accountancy companies, providing insights and tips along the way. This talk is going to be useful for parents with sons interested in applying for an apprenticeship in any industry. We also have Felix Palmer, current 6-2, who will ask questions of Paula, and he's currently going to talk through the process of applying for, he's currently going through the process of applying for an apprenticeship himself, and is shortly due to complete some virtual assessments for a few companies that he has applied for. And on the call, we have Karen Rhodes, who is our Futures Coordinator and works closely with the head of UCAS and the head of Careers to empower and prepare the boys for their post-18 choices, whatever they may be. So I'm now going to hand you over to Paula, who is a chartered accountant and director at Resolution Capital. She was also the first A-level leaver to participate in Ernst Young's Chartered Accountant Training Programme and is a firm believer that you don't have to go to university to kickstart a career. Paula, over to you, and thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm really happy to be talking to you today. There's so much going on in the space of apprenticeships, and I'm really excited to share the knowledge I've learned going through the process with my son. To start with, I'm just going to introduce the topic that I'm talking about. It's specifically accountancy and finance. However, I will touch on some other apprenticeships in investment banking and also law towards the end of the presentation. So this is about what is a route to qualify as a chartered accountant. And I want to also just make it clear, because it gets very confusing for parents and students, that these routes are sometimes called degree apprenticeships. However, they have nothing to do with going to university at all. So you don't need to apply, or you don't apply to uni, you don't step foot inside a university. It's all about going straight from A levels into the workplace and coming out with a professional qualification, which is exactly the same as what one would do if they were a graduate joining the same firm. So if we look at the routes to chartered accountancy qualification, you'll see everybody has to do A levels. That's a given, you have to do your A levels. And then the traditional route is to go to university, do a degree, and that doesn't have to be in business or finance or economics or maths. All the accountancy firms take on graduates with a huge range of different degrees: chemistry and physics, history and geography. And then once graduated, apply to an accountancy firm to do a training contract and become a chartered accountant. However, you can actually do, straight from A levels, a fast track route. And a lot of parents and boys do think that uni is the true route to success. Without that degree, they'll always be a bit behind on their CV or in their peer group or in their career. But I'm here actually to show you that for the right motivated student, this fast track route can actually allow you to become more successful, because you qualify younger. The chartered accountancy qualification is around 3.5 years in length, and therefore by the age of 22, an individual who's joined from A levels will be qualified. So you're that bit further along in your career already by joining straight from A levels. And I've put a selection of accountancy firms there on the slide, but there are a huge range to choose from. All the big 4 do this, but also a lot of the medium-sized accountancy firms do them as well. So there's a whole breadth of opportunities out there for this route if one is interested. So when an individual joins an accountancy firm straight from A levels, you have to decide which service line you want to work in. So the main ones in all the accountancy firms are audit, tax, consulting, and strategy and transactions. Now, regardless of which service line you join, you all do the same qualification. So if a graduate after uni joins audit, an A-level leaver joins tax, they're both doing the same training contract, they're both doing the same exams, they're both coming out with exactly the same chartered accountancy qualification at the end of it. You're just specialising whilst you're training in one of these areas. So it's vital as a parent and as a student, if you're going along this process, to start reading up, looking on the website, talking to people who work in these different areas to try and find out more and identify which one you think may interest you the most. Day to day in the workplace, you'll be doing a whole range of tasks. And on here, I've also put the skills which these accountancy firms look for in the individuals through the process to suit and match to the job. But what's most interesting, and when I talked to the boys at Radley a bit about this, they were really shocked when I put on the slide what an A-level leaver who is with one of the big four, who's 18, is actually doing on a day-to-day basis. He's in audit, and he's saying here how he's never expected to be working on the audit of a FTSE 100 tech company, working on large global companies to small private businesses, all while studying for the global recognised qualification, which is the Chartered Accountancy qualification. And then there's Rosie, who's working in tax. Now, lots of people think tax is very dry, very boring, very number heavy. But if you look at what Rosie's doing, she's involved in the tax department in projects which touch on sustainability and the metaverse. She's presenting to clients and developing technical skills in tools such as Alteryx and Power BI. So all of a sudden, you can see that it's very broad, this kind of chartered accountancy finance industry. And what do you need? Well, you need to have around 112 UCAS points as a guide. That's what the Big Four are looking for. Depending on your location and your role, you could earn up to 30,000 a year. On top of that, all your study is paid for. And that includes the normal package that most professional roles would offer with regard to like private medical insurance and pension and so forth. And then if you have first-time passes in your exams, you could be qualified within 3 years. And that qualification, that chartered accountancy qualification, is equivalent to a master's degree. So that's the level of qualification that you are gaining. It's equivalent to a master's degree.
Paula, do you know that in terms of location, do you know if they group apprentices together so that they can form a little bit of a community if there's several of them starting at the same time? Do they try and locate them in a similar place, you know, to replicate that kind of uni experience? Yes, all the Big Four, you can choose your location during the application process: Manchester, Liverpool, Birmingham, London. And each of those offices, there's a real community of A-level apprentice and graduates joining. And you're buddied up with a mentor in the firm, and you'll all go on block release together to a college and have time out of the day job at certain periods in the year to do your exams. So there's very much a community feel, and there's a lot going on as well outside of the workplace. I think I saw on LinkedIn recently there was a group of apprenticeships in one of the Big Four that did the 3 Peaks challenge recently all together. I'm sure they do like 5-a-side football, barbecues. So that kind of social element is really there as well. It's not just work and more work. So the next slide is actually a slide that I took over my son's shoulder. When you're doing the application process, I'm going to just come onto it in a bit, but it's a really good idea to go on the summer work experience placements. And a lot of the firms, they have parent sessions. So they encourage parents to join a slot in the work experience. It's virtual. And they talk to the parents as well as the students about opportunities.
And this is just a brief slide to show the breadth of opportunities there are. So I think this is a PwC one actually, but so PwC, for example, they do their summer work experience, and they call their summer work experience a virtual insight program. And you'll see that it's for younger students, so fifth and lower sixth, year 11 and 12 can apply to do that summer work experience program. And that's really a great idea because you learn a lot about the firm and the different areas and roles that you could pursue. Then if you want to go on, you could apply for the PwC, in this case, School Leavers Programme. So you go straight from A-levels into one of the service lines and do the qualification as I've just run through. But there's also other opportunities that you can do with a university. So all of the big four also have affiliations with universities. And just on that slide, there's an example that it looks like with PwC, you could go to uni and also they will sponsor you and you can do paid work with them in the summertime and have a role with them at the end of your degree. And they also do undergraduate programs. So there is a lot out there, and all of the big four offer these different kind of routes to qualification. So I touched on it earlier, but for those who are interested, especially in the finance and accountancy, big four or the medium-sized accountancy firms, they all offer some really very, very valuable summer work experience. And now is the time to apply. Kind of autumn, winter of the year is when you should be looking at getting your application in and applying to do some summer work experience. It's not paid. A lot of it is virtual. You have to go through a maths and verbal reasoning online test and also an interview, a virtual interview. But if you're successful in that, you can then have a real taster of what these firms are about, what they offer, compare them, get a feel for the culture. And if you want to take it a step further, the fact that you've done the work experience with them is a real plus on your side to getting an offer, a permanent offer. So they all call their summer work experience by different names. So I just wanted to put the slide on here for parents when they're looking and students. PwC call their summer work experience a virtual insight program. EY call theirs career starters. Deloitte call theirs career shapers. BDO offer a summer insight program. And there are others available as well at other accountancy firms. And finally, I will just touch on other apprenticeships. So I've been talking specifically about accountancy and the professional qualification, the chartered accountancy qualification. However, there may be boys who are interested in investment banking. I know that UBS, Credit Suisse, JP Morgan do offer A-level leavers the chance to join their firms and study the CISI and CFA qualifications. And again, these are the same qualifications that graduates would be doing when they join with them too. The banks, for example, HSBC do A-level apprenticeships. And this is hot off the press because it's only just starting, but KPMG have launched expressions of interest on their website for A-level leavers to join them and qualify in law as a level 4 paralegal and then a level 7 solicitor SQE qualification. So for parents, there is a lot out there, and more firms are opening up to the benefits of having A-level students join them and qualify in their culture, and to just, have them enjoying that career start earlier. So that's the last slide from me. And I know, Felix, you're actually applying at the moment. So, that's also for you, for good luck with your application.
Thank you, Paula. I have a few questions myself. So currently, I've applied for UBS and Deutsche Bank, and I've been offered online assessments. So the first question I have for you is, how can I prepare for these assessments or interviews? Is there a best way to do it online or to maybe research what I'll be asked?
Yes, that's a great question. I think from what I've seen, the starting place for preparation is the firm's website. These firms have everything that they expect you to know in the interview process on their website. One of the key things to prepare on is the firm's mission statement, their vision statement. So first of all, to know what it is, and secondly, how do you, Felix, identify with JP Morgan's mission statement? What does it mean to you? What interests you about it? And then the second bit on your question is to just really research the role. So again, if you're on LinkedIn, I would recommend it, connect with people that are maybe doing the role that you're interested in, try and, talk to them, look at Radley Connect. On the websites, there's a lot of kind of videos on the firm's websites from apprentice talking about the role and what they've experienced in it. So that's all really good preparation.
Okay, thank you. Just quickly, when you went through the process with your son, did you use any websites or mock questions?
No. All I would say is for the accountancy firms, and it probably is the same as the investment bank firms, there are forums. So there's an EY student forum, there's a BDO student forum, there's also PwC and Deloitte have talent networks, so you can sign up to get emails of events and virtual conferences that you can join. So to make the most of that. But a lot of the test and the interview process are now done, so you can't really prepare too much for them. It's a kind of no right or wrong. It's a lot of scenario-based questions and just checking that you really understand the company. You know which company you're applying for, what they're about, and you know what's involved with the role.
Great,
Do you know what, sorry, just I'm interested to know what sort of characteristics they're looking for. I mean, you probably don't know exactly, but what sort of individual do you think would kind of fly in this scenario with going for a degree apprenticeship?
I think certainly somebody who has very good time management. And I say that because it's not an easy route. It's a really full-on, hard route in terms of you're doing a day job and then you're doing, tough exams and study. So somebody who's very motivated to do well, to qualify, to work with clients, but has really good time management, because you have to be kind of keeping all the plates spinning in that role. You've got support, you've got a lot of support, but at the end of the day, it's down to you, self-driven.
Ask the question, Paula. You talked about the service lines like the audit and the tax, etc., and having to choose what you wanted to do beforehand. Is there an opportunity to move around or switch if you think, well, I haven't got it quite right, sort of later on in the process?
A lot of the firms, once they've invested in recruiting you and you've gone through the process of them, they don't want you to be unhappy in a service line. So I'm absolutely sure they would want you to be in a service line you're enjoying and thriving in and are comfortable in. In terms of the service line, if you apply for audit and you're put in the audit service line, you're always working with the other service lines. So you're always in meetings, cross-skilled meetings with other service lines. So you're getting an insight into them, even if you're not placed in them.
Right. So my next question is on how to find degree apprenticeships. I've managed to find a few and I've applied to them. However, I found it quite difficult to find them online. So do you recommend maybe a good way to find these degree apprenticeships online or on the company website?
No, I think you're exactly right, Felix. I think it is quite tricky to find them. And I think that's why maybe not everybody really knows that they're there. It is the case of the company websites, definitely. And I always try and kind of Google, if you're interested in a certain company, Google the company name and put A-level apprenticeship, and trying, because their websites are so vast and so big, one can actually spend quite a long time going around the website and trying to find, which part is towards school leavers. I think they're getting better, but it's definitely the company websites that you need to look at for apprenticeships.
Great, thank you very much. For the application for most of the degree apprenticeships that I've applied for, it's asked for a CV and a cover letter. And I was just wondering what was the difference between the two, and how can I write a good cover letter that stands out?
So I think on the cover letter, it touches on what we were just discussing in terms of demonstrating a clear understanding of why you are applying to that particular company, and what you can bring to that company that fits in with their vision, their mission. And the fact they're looking for people at an A-level intake, you're not expected to know matters about investment banking at all, or accountancy. So it's not a technical, it's more that you're motivated, that you're someone who makes the most of opportunities. Maybe you can demonstrate that because you've spoken to some people in that company to find out more. If you've done work experience, all these things really help in a cover letter to get you a successful placement.
Great, thank you. I also had a question on work experience. So as you highlighted in your presentation, many of the companies offer work experience. However, if you're planning to do work experience in maybe another industry or maybe with another company, would this matter? And if you were to go into financial services, which industry would be good to get work experience in?
So I think for a starting point, any work experience is valuable. If it's working in a shop or if it's doing lifeguarding, whatever you're doing, it's all valuable work experience. And I know at Radley there are lots of opportunities as well that you go into the community and you have different experiences to being in the classroom. So make the most of all those things. With investment services and financial services, you're looking at business. So you're looking at, and I would look at the firms, because as I just put in the presentation, a lot of them do offer work experience, but also I would look at insurance companies, financial services, any type of business really, accountancy as well for financial services. A lot of accountants qualify as accountants and then they move across into investment management and financial services.
Great, thank you. I just had one last question regarding your presentation, and it's on the requirements to get into a degree apprenticeship, and that's the UCAS points. You said 112 points.
Yeah.
So what would this be equivalent in A-level grades?
So when you apply, you need to put obviously down your predicted grades, and I think you're looking at, I'm not 100% sure. Karen may know better than me actually for what that means.
112 is mentioned, and that is BBC, and 120 UCAS points mentioned, and that's BBB. So yeah.
So that's the range that you're looking at. They're also looking as well at not just your qualification. There's the way you present yourself, and there's a lot of team interaction that they observe you in team environments to see that you're a team player, and that you really will fit into the department.
Great, thank you very much.
I just have one more question, but I wanted to just ask Karen if she had anything that she wanted to ask before I ask my final question.
No, I haven't got anything else to ask. I find it really interesting to see the different side from a parent's perspective and what you've learned over the course of it as well.
And that was going to be my question, which was, Paula, you've gone through this with your son. I know that he's driven a lot of this himself, but you've been there in the background supporting where necessary. Can you give other parents any top tips on how to support their sons? And obviously every son is different, but how best to support your sons through the process if they will let you?
Absolutely. I think there's a lot that parents can do to support. I mean, the starting point is, there's that conversation of, do you want to go to uni? Will you feel you're missing out if you don't go to university? That's very different for boys, and boys can have very different reasons for wanting to go or not wanting to go. That's a very individual decision, but it's a big one, because there's no point starting the process if you really feel that you're missing out by not going to university. So that's the first and most important conversation to have. I will say to parents, there's a lot of admin involved in the processes, and all of these firms, because I wouldn't just apply to one. If you want to, if the student wants to go for it, I would apply to a few. I think my son applied to 4. There's a lot of applications, admin, emails that come in and say, you need to respond to this within 10 days. Otherwise, you won't get to the next stage. So one tip I have is to create a generic email address when you apply, so that your son and also you have access to it. So the boys are so busy and they have so many deadlines. You can just keep an eye on giving them a nudge that actually, you've got to do your assessment, online assessment, because you've got 10 days and there's only 5 days left. Come on. So it's those kind of things where parents can really help. I also think, and I've spoken about it with Felix and some of his excellent questions, that it's sometimes hard to narrow down on the website exactly what is relevant to an A-level leaver. So parents can do a bit of that preparation and just kind of find the correct parts to put their son in front of that and say, this is the kind of area on the website which I think you're thinking of looking at. And I would also say to parents, it's good to have a plan B. And with my son, he's applied for uni, but he'll defer his uni by a year. So if he does, for some reason, not enjoy working, he hasn't lost his uni place. So it's also good to have that plan B. So you can apply to uni and defer it for a year, and then you've still got that option if you need to fall back on it.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, Paula. That was absolutely fascinating. I know that both parents and boys will find that really invaluable, a really fantastic thing to refer to as they go forward into the future. And I think we're getting more and more boys considering this route. So it's definitely worth us all knowing more about it. And thanks to you, Felix, because I know you're busy and you're going off to games now. So thank you for your time and for coming up with those excellent questions. And we do wish you all the best with whatever you do in the future and with your applications. Thank you very much.